In celebrating the International Year of Basic Sciences, the Unizulu Science Centre, together with its Indigenous Knowledge Systems IKS division, is proud and excited to be involved through various activities in this year's National Science Week. Having been in existence for over 35 years, the Science Centre has grown to seeing over 30,000 visitors each year, offering a wide range of activities to instill passion and love for science, especially to our young learners in school, and channeling them to technological careers, especially through studies at the University of Zululand.
Our programs are 3-hour programs that are run for each school that visits on a daily basis. It consists of a career guidance visit, which is 1 hour, a science show, which is another hour, and we have a 30-minute science game, 30-minute interaction of exhibits, as well as a 30-minute water safety talk that is done by NSRI, which is your National Sea Rescue Institute.
At Sea Rescue, our mission is saving lives on South African waters. So that's anybody who's drowning in the water, we go out and we save them. If there's no lifeguard and nobody there to save them, we go save them.
The Unizulu Science Centre is home to over 200 interactive exhibits, which are categorized into different themes in various halls or areas, namely the Hall of Mechanics, for those who have interest in learning more about motor mechanics and engineering. There is the Puzzle Room for those who like solving complex riddles and puzzles to shake their brains out.
Is everybody following? One of the techniques we use here at the Science Centre to test kids' general knowledge as well as to allow them to have a little bit of fun with each other is a game we call the Fat Physics game. It's actually the adult version of a board game called Silly Science Questions. And in this game, you just pick up a card, and whatever question you have on the back of the card, the person who has the card can answer it. If they answer it, they get to keep the card. And basically the way the game works is the person with the most cards at the end of the game wins. It's just a way to allow kids to interact with each other as well as to learn more facts about science here at the Science Centre.
Also, there is the Hall of Industries, which showcases the industries around Richards Bay that are at the forefront of driving South Africa's economical hub and focusing on their processes on how they produce their products. In the Hall of Physics are exhibits modeling energy and power systems. And finally, there is an Early Childhood Development ECD Centre, which is a museum aimed at learners from grades R to 3 for their play-based learning.
With support from our sponsors and donors, the Science Centre is able to achieve its aims, which are to instill interest among school learners, also helping them with the school syllabus, especially those who are within matric, and also with teachers as well. We also run teacher workshops for them. Preparing them for exams, and we are also thereby channeling them into technological careers through studies at the University of Zululand.
So first of all, do you like our new BMW here? Yes. Would you like one like that? Yes. But I want to say to all of you, rather than owning a car like that, why don't you design cars like that? Okay? Because you can, but what you will need is a lot of science and mathematics. Are you all taking science? Yes. Okay, that's wonderful.
Our task at Zululand Career Center is to make sure that when they get out of Career Center, they definitely know what careers to choose. So they needed to get clarity from us as to how we can help them to choose the right career path.
Linking science and Indigenous knowledge, the Science Centre aims to demonstrate how Indigenous communities came to know what they know about their environment and the universe. Science shows, such as this one called Spinning in Space, provide an opportunity to demonstrate that some basic processes, from curiosity, observation and experimentation apply to both science and indigenous knowledge at a basic level, showing that indigenous knowledge at a practical level can be foundational in fostering literacy in STEM.
What I'm going to try and do is to balance this wheel on top over here. So I need it tight. Okay, so you can obviously see it is always going to fall should I try to balance it here on top of my rope without spinning. But let's see what happens when umalume spins now. Okay. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let me see if I can be able to pull this one through. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to see if I can just use this string and hold it up like so, and then release. All right.
Sijabulile ukuthi isikole sethu sisilethela Unizulu Science Center. Sithe sifika ama-instructors asiqalisa lana basibonisa ama-parts emoto, ma-engine, safunda ngama-parts emoto, sabona yonke sahamba saya e-hall of physics, safunda ngogesi, safunda nge-different things ey'phathelene ne-physics. Sasayiswa e-carrier hall. Yeah, sayiswa career hall, safunda ngokukhetha ama-careers. Umuntu nje, I'm sure abantu abaningi sebeyazazi manje ukuthi ngoba bezophindela emuva bafuna ukuba yini when they grow up.
Part of the Unizulu Science Center is the Indigenous Knowledge Documentation Project, which operates under the National Department of Science and Innovation. Indigenous knowledge, or traditional knowledge as some will call it, is recorded from local communities through this project. Is this traditional knowledge relevant in today's socio-economic needs? Today we question the need for indigenous knowledge systems and its importance to indigenous communities' perceived sustainability and its possible role in STEM education.
Ngenza izinkamba ngafundiswa umama ukwenza inkamba, kwathi nezingane zami ngayifundisa nazo ukwenza inkamba. Kwahamba kwathi komunye unyaka kwafika umlungu uMary Anne endaweni yakithi esigodini eNdlovini, wasifundisa ukushintsha ukuthi asenze i-design equality enkambeni. Sakwazi nangempela ukuthi ngifunde kuze kuphume ukhamba olucwebezelayo, ngakwazi ukuthi nami ngiyenze le quality. Kusho ukuthi nje eNdlovini ibumba ilona esilisebenzisa kakhulu esiphila ngalo nabatwana bethu.
In Zululand, there are common traditions of craft work that can be witnessed along the roads and designated craft centers in certain municipalities. These are mainly crafters that do wood carving, traditional pottery, crafting beads and weaving mats and other products using ilala palm, straws, and other natural products. In the past, there were many other skills based on the indigenous knowledge of the communities. Now those skills have been lost. Some have even been forgotten and not even practiced at all. It is only the economic reasons that have sustained the few that are still practiced.
Uma sesibheka ke iqhaza nokubaleka kwemuseum njengoba le museum iVukani Museum idlala iqhaza elibaleka kangaka. Ngaphandle kokuthi kube khona museum, angeke sikwazi ukuba nendawo yokugcina zonke lezi zinto ezikhona kule museum. Okuyizinto vele ezaziyingxenye yokuphila kwabantu, izinto ezazitholakala emakhaya zikhona. Kodwa kulesikhathi sanamhlanje ke la kungasaphilwa ngalendlela, ayisekho enye indlela ngaphandle ukuthi sibe nezindawo njengalezi museum la kuzogcinwa khona lezi zinto zibonakale impilo yethu njengabantu ukuthi asiphila kanjani.
On the other hand, one wonders if their knowledge and skills have any links with the knowledge taught by the basic education's curriculum of STEM in local schools. All these form a base of knowledge which has been passed on from generation to generation, and it's important that this information and skills are preserved.
Bengijwayele uhamba nomkhulu engithwalisa ingodi sithwala umfuze emkhulile umuntu omkhulu efike ethi umkhulu hayi uzobona bese efike eqapha ukule ugodo mangabe ukuthi kuwazi uqoko noma kubaza isiqembe kanjalo. Isiqembe ke awuthathi noma yimuphi umuthi, uthatha usolo noma umkhuhlu noma umhlambamasi. Kakhulukazi isiqembe sisebenzisa umhlambamasi ngoba kakhulukazi uba muhle ube mhlophe, luyabukeka ngoba phela abantu bathanda ukusebenzisa into eclean. Ugqoko le minute ayikho mhlophe njengomhlambamasi. Umkhuhlu uthi awuthi ukuba bomvana, ikhala yakho ayifani nomhlambamasi. Nosolo, usolo luze lube nemibala emibili mangabe wenza ugqoko losolo. Ngokubaza lokho ke kuye kuphumeke sekugcina sekugqoko olukanje. Emva kwalokho luyashiswa. Noba lolu kalikashiswa kodwa uma seliphelile luyashiswa ukuze libuke kahle. Ubuke kahle sekunomunye umbala osuwufakile wena.
There is a lot that goes into making the different products that are displayed on this table. It ranges from the practical know-how or skill of doing it to the type of materials used, including the base, frame, skeletal material, the finishing, and the decorative and coloring materials. All this work is based and informed by the indigenous knowledge of the local people that is inherited from the older generation. Part of the IKS-based craft was modeling by carving and molding. A type of clay, a type of wood, and even a type of stone was selected for this purpose. What we see here are model sculptures made of clay. The practical skill was also key, including selecting and processing the material itself. Glass beads play a big role in the making of traditional Zulu attire. Although glass beads do not originate in Zulu traditional knowledge, they became a good substitute for the original plant-based materials that Zulus used for beadwork in the olden days, which required a lot of time and involved a tedious preparation process before the actual beading work began. Among the products of the Ilala palm, which is another prominent plant in Zulu craftwork, are decorative baskets, decorative bowls, bags, placemats, and more. These products were domestic necessities in the past, rather than decorative objects as they are today. From the same skill, we see the example of models of persons made of carved wood.
Eminye ke imisebenzi ekhona yabantu ababazayo basebenzisa ukhuni, izinduku lezi sisibonayo la. Sikhulumele ngokuningi kodwa kulezi induku lezi siyabona ukuthi kukhona ewisaleli indoda ke engahambi ngaphethe lutho. Kwakufuna ukube nohlobo oluthile lwenduku ezolisebenzisa ewisaleli nje elilula. Kwesinye isikhathi kube izinduku ezihlotshisiwe njengalesi ibonayo la sekuyinduku yokuhloba ke umnumzane mayephethe ahloba ngayo. Kokunye ikhanda layo lenziwe ngematerial ehlukene. Sike sakhuluma ngophondo, siyalibona kuphondo selisetshenzisiwe la ukwenza ikhanda lalenduku le kuhlotshiswe lenduku phezulu. So ngendlela ke yokwenza uphondo ehlukile makubazwa lucijwa naluphondo. Okunye singakunothisa noma singakubheka la ukuthi lezi ihlahla ezisetshenzisiwe la azifani. Uyabona insalela zakhona noma solomile ukuthi lolu khuni mawuqhathanisa nalolu khuni akufani, kanti futhi nohlonze lwakhona nesisindo sakhona akufani. So kuye kukhethwe ke inhlobo ezithile zezihlahla ngoba kunenhloso ukuthi fanele kuphume into enjani ekugcineni.
This traditional Zulu household cutlery is carved in different decorative ways today to express its decorative purpose. It was also a necessity in every household, which ranged from izinkezo, spoons, izixembe, dishing spoons, amaphini, stirring rods, izingqoko, wooden platters and bowls. These are containers that were dedicated to carrying milk and sour milk. Igula is for fermenting milk, producing sour milk, and itunga is used to milk the cows, milking into it when milking a cow. Examples of items produced from the horns of cows or cattle. This is another special material for crafters. Bones were also used for other kinds of crafted items that needed such materials. This is a display of containers and tools needed for handling traditional Zulu beverages, mainly Zulu beer and amahewu. Other beverages such as umncindo, umlaza, and others could also be handled in the same containers. Among the tools are isithebe, imbenge, iskhetho, inkezo, and ihluzo for processing and handling beverages. Izinkamba, clay pots, were fashioned differently considering different purposes they were used for. Take a look at the size and the outer finish of imbiza for storing large amounts of beverages, mainly beer. The outer finish of imbiza with a rough surface allows for easy handling. Upiso is fashioned for the purpose of carrying the beverage for some distance when it has to be delivered elsewhere or another homestead for its consumption. Ikovu is a very important instrument of processing food. It is a deep, hollow container carved out of a strong type of wood for grinding grain, maize, sorghum, or nuts. Headdresses for women, izinhloko, were ordinarily weaved into women's hair in the past, rather than fitted on as they are today. Because they were weaved on permanently, elderly women would be required to use isigqiki, head support or rest, when they slept. These are sitting or sleeping mats in the rack. Isiqephu is smaller in size and is made to suit sitting purposes, while icansi is bigger in size and is for sleeping. Other than these woven mats, processed skins would also be used as sitting or sleeping mats. Notice the wooden rack that was fashioned specifically for the purpose of storing these mats.
Ngoba sinalezi zinto ezikhona ke la amaquthu lawa esemva kwami okubalekile ukuthi yini esetshenzisiwe ukwenza lezo zonke lezi zinto ke kunama material ahlukene atholakala endaweni ezehlukene abenzi balezi zinto bayayazi ke yonke lama material sikhulume kakhulu ngobasket obasket ke benziwa ngelala masikhuluma futhi ngehluzo sikhulume ngalo yilala leli elenza zonke lezo zinto obasket amahluzo ikhetho kuphuma kule leli lala leli kwesinye isikhathi ke mase befuna ukuthi kube nemibala ehlukene siyabona lapha sekudayiwe kwamnyama ekuseyilona ilala la selifaka udayi la seliba mnyama kanjena nangapha futhi masiqhubeka selifaka udayi omunye kuya ngombala ofunayo naku seku brown lapha ngenxa yodayi ofakiwe okhipha lo mbala ngaphandle kwelala ke khona futhi nolunye uhlobo lotshani lobuqinile lobutshani nabo futhi obusetshenziswa kakhulu kulezi zinto eziwivayo njengobasket kanjalo namaquthu la siwabonayo ngemuva lobutshani buyasetshenziswa ke buyibase ukwenza zonke lezi zinto lezi so yilama material abalekile esiwabonayo kulomphongo lobekwe la.
This section comprises of items woven mainly from ilala palm. Some other grassy plant-based materials, iskhonko, ikwali, uzi, were used mainly as base or skeletal frame material. Notice the coloring, which was done by using natural dyes that were harvested from the field, like leaves, roots, bark, etc.
Hello, Derek.
Hey, how are you, Dums?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, I'm great, thanks. I was just thinking, you've been in the Science Centre a long time.
Yes, and I think about it, 25 years.
25 years, that's a long time. And I've been here about 30 years.
30 years, that's a long time.
And watching that video, I was just thinking in a way just how different our backgrounds were. Where did you grow up? Tell me about it.
Well, I grew up in a rural place, and all I can relate to is the things that I was doing in a rural place, like hunting and such things.
So not much of this technology around?
Not much of cars, so I cannot relate my science to the science of a car.
So, I mean, I grew up in the big city of Cape Town, so lots of bright lights, lots of technology. So I think these were very different. So you say you didn't see many cars?
No, not many cars. We're talking about lights. My nights were very dark. So
okay. So those things we saw in the video, the indigenous crafts, were those very much part of your upbringing?
Yes, very much so. People were doing that a lot in those days. And thinking about it now, there's a lot that is involved, which is science in it, which I can relate. More specifically in the parts where we talk about properties of materials and classification of materials in the syllabus. So that relates very well with that. So when we're talking about those things, we also realize that there are lots of things in our daily life that are science phenomena that we don't realize. I'm now wondering if somebody like you grew in a city has also the same feeling.
I'm sure that's true, and I'm thinking what people refer to as indigenous knowledge, in fact, the word science just means knowledge. It means nothing different from that. And I think the most important knowledge is actually practical knowledge, which helps us live our lives better. But what about growing up as a small boy? I'm sure that you didn't always think about learning, that you had lots of fun with things.
Yes, there were lots of things that we did in terms of our playing ideas. So, and there's a lot of science that I can relate to that because we built our own slides, sliding across the hills there, the mountains. We rolled in drums, and we also did some hunting, creating some spring traps when we were hunting, such things. So for me, it relates to science, and there's a lot of forces involved that I can talk about.
Well, I must say my games were a little bit different from that, but I think it was different experiences and the same science. And I mean, you grew up here in Zululand. Were there aspects of Zulu culture which involved science?
Yes, watching them doing like crafts, and also even in the language itself, when you listen to praise singers mentioning stars, mentioning constellations, when they do praise singing. So you realize there's a lot of knowing about their universe that is involved in the culture itself as well.
Now I'm aware of the fact that in Unizulu there's different names for stars and constellations. So you don't talk about Orion and the Pleiades and so on?
Yeah, I wouldn't know them as Pleiades and also the lion, Orion. So, but we had other names like Isilimela for Pleiades, and those were also known for certain works. Like Isilimela is very important because it goes with the season for planting. So that was known very well because they marked the season.
So there was practical knowledge, which,
yes.
and I assume for navigation as well,
yes.
finding north, finding south?
Yes. We can talk about the morning star, Ikwezi, and also Istelankobe in the evening, such, which I came to know now that it's not a star.
In fact, it's a planet, the planet Venus,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
And now South Africa, building on this great indigenous tradition, is now become a world leader in astronomy and space science. And you've had some links with those different projects.
Very much so, and that's interesting. I've worked with Eshowe, the observatory in Cape Town, and also I've seen SALT, the telescope. And I can also mention the square kilometer array telescope.
Absolutely, we have the world's biggest radio telescope under construction, and South Africa won the bid thanks to the support we've enjoyed from the Department of Science and Innovation, which we're celebrating this week during National Science Week.
Yes, interesting, and it can be great as well for the rural people to be able to link to that knowledge from their knowledge and realize they are part of that as well.
So in my reading about science education, a lot of people talked about border crossings. When you leave maybe a rural life and come to something like a science center, did you find that border crossing difficult?
I could relate to the things. I think because I was exposed to the science center as well, that's what made me to be able to relate. And with all the science that I'm telling you about, so I was able, and I think it can be good if teachers themselves can be able to identify those backgrounds of their learners and be able to link. It can help them to learn well.
That sounds like a great recipe for success. Building on ancient knowledge with the science that takes us into the future. Let's agree to that.
Yes, that's a good idea. Thanks.